Greetings, welcome on my channel. Why do we need good architectures generally? So, like hexagonal architecture, for example, I'm mostly about web backend projects generally, because hexagonal architecture was invented first, then it was reinvented with onion architecture, and then Bob Martin reinvented it again with his clean architecture. Why do we need this generally at all? The bigger your project is, the harder it is to maintain it, add new features, and so on. Like any real project changes all the time. If like it has some real value, brings some use to the world, to the users, customers, and so on. And the bigger it is, the more legacy it has. I'm not touching technical debt and so on. It's a separate topic. But about like the architecture itself, because if it's not structured properly, if you don't use good approaches, it will be just hell already after 1-2 years just to maintain it, to add a new feature, to change something. You'll spend too much time on it generally. And the other problem, and yes, there are a lot of like generally possibilities. There is a lot of room for bugs, issues, unpredictable behavior, and so on. I can list it for a long time, but in a nutshell, that's something like this. The other reason, I haven't heard that something have ever mentioned it, something has ever mentioned it, but as to me, as for a developer, it's really important code's quality generally. Yes, the quality of the code on the project I'm working on, because if I see a typical mess around of it, my motivation is much less. I don't have so much interest like in delving into this and so on. Like I just have to do something, I do, but nothing extra. When I have a great project which uses, usually it's my own project, which uses the best architectural approaches like codes approaches generally and so on the one hand, I work much faster with it. I need much less time to implement new features, change something, find bugs, and so on. On the other hand, I'm much happier as a developer, as a person. And the happier a person is, the more productive they are. Unfortunately, not everyone understands it, not every business understands it. But like, yes. And are there any disadvantages, for example, of hexagonal or like onion, clean architectures generally? Yes, there are, because initially you need to spend more time for creating some boilerplate, your carcass, yes, your basic structure, fundamental things which you can leverage in the future. So initially you may need, I will say, yes, more time, more energy to spend, to invest into it, and so on. But the further the better. It will definitely bring you some fruit. It will yes, it will be very useful for you, for your company, for your project, for your team, to use it this way. One more problem is that not a lot of developers are experienced enough to create, design such things, to start such projects from scratch. They may be experiencing issue while they are working with it, like they don't understand why it's so elaborated, like elaborate, complicated, intricate. Yes, why it's so hard, I don't understand how it works. It's not really easy to understand such concepts like as dependency injection, abstract factory, for example, or all of such things, and so on. One more problem, like I wouldn't consider it as a big problem, but just for you to keep it in mind, because for some things, dependencies, for example, usually for your repository, yes, at the repository level, you use interfaces or traits in Rust, and they all have performance penalties like performance overhead due to virtual tables, indirections, and so on. But in my experience, the most part of projects have much more severe performance issues, like they're not structured on optimal level and so on. So I wouldn't consider it as a real cons, but just for you to know it, that when you use interfaces, generally you not like you may run into performance issues, but I mean, compared to a direct function call, like yes, it's more expensive generally. But again, for the most part of projects, it's not really relevant, and much more important, it's your project's maintainability and so on, code's quality and so on. So something like this. So the main idea, the core idea of hexagonal onion clean architecture is to separate your business logic from everything else. That your business logic doesn't know about your repository, about your, for example, controllers and so on. It doesn't know it. It's just pure domain model, pure your pure language without any external dependencies and so on. So ideally, you can switch database, you can switch your HTTP framework, or even start using, for example, gRPC or GraphQL without, instead of HTTP, and it will work. So this is just the main root concept. I'm gonna disclosure this in my next videos. So I hope it was interesting and useful for you. If so, please like the video, subscribe on my channel, share this video with your friends, acquaintances, because eventually it will benefit all of us. Yeah, hope to see you soon. Bye.